Hey everyone, Ben Nelson, the Everyday Real Estate Investor here again with another episode of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in and listening to the show, and appreciate all the support. And hopefully, what you're hearing on here is inspiring. It's helping you think a little bit, get some new ideas that you can implement in your life and in your business and in your investment. So that's the goal here. Today, we are going to talk about a little bit more back to some mindset things and making sure that your mind is set up for success, and talking about some things that hold back investors from being successful and being able to do the things that they want to do. So we're going to jump into that. Really quick reminder just before we jump into that, I am a real estate broker in addition to being an investor. And I am building my team. So if you are a real estate broker here in the Portland-Salem market, or around the country here, and you are looking for a change, or you're wanting to join a team that's doing some different things and involved in investing, maybe you want to be more involved in investing, and your current team isn't really focused on that, and you want to be around people that are doing that, and delving into commercial, multifamily, those sorts of things. I'd love to chat with you. Let's set up a time to talk, and let's see if you might be a good fit for what we're doing, and hopefully we can help each other grow, bring new business in, and do some more things. So if you're interested in that, if you're looking for maybe a change or something that could be a little bit different, let's chat. Reach out to me. Probably best way to do that for that is just send an email to info@theeverydayrealestateinvestor.net. Put in the subject title agent, and just shoot me a quick message. Let me know what you're currently doing. Even if you're not like currently licensed, if you're thinking about it, and you want to dive into some what that looks like and what it would be like to be on our team, we'd love to chat with you about that. So shoot me an email if you're interested in that. Let's chat about that. All right, now that aside, shameless, I mean, I guess self-promotion, but really it's all about helping each other succeed. So yeah, I'd love to see my team grow, but I also want to see other agents succeed. So that's again, this whole premise of this podcast. I want to see other people succeed and do well and do great things in their business, and it's the same thing on the agent side. So I want to see agents succeed and bring in a lot of business. The market's shifting a little bit. There's a lot to be making sure that you're doing right and thinking about in your business. So it's not really self-promotion. It's really trying to make sure people have the right fit within the brokerage that they're working at. So again, now let's dive into mindset and talk about, we're going to talk about 4 things that hold a lot of investors back. And it may be all 4 of these things or to varying degrees. And it may be just one of them is more than the other. So it's not going to be all of them necessarily for everybody, but I think I've probably experienced a lot of these hurdles. These are very common hurdles that a lot of people run into, and a lot of them they're tangible, they're real problems, but really it comes down to a mindset piece behind it. So we're going to talk about how to how to overcome those as well. So first one is a really big one, a very broad topic, one that's talked about a lot, which is fear, right? So fear is at the root of a lot of different things that hold people back in investing in lots of things in life is fear of something. So it could be I'm just going to cover a few of them here. So fear of failure, right? Fear of making mistakes, fear of something not going the way that you planned that it's going to go. And you know what? I've got news for you. It's not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. I mean, you don't want to think negatively, but you also want to be realistic. And the reason why you want it, actually, it's not bad to think that things might go wrong to a certain degree, is because then you're prepared for them, right? So things aren't going to maybe go exactly the way that you want them to, but that's okay. You're going to adjust as you go. You're going to be prepared to that something's going to come up. You don't necessarily know what that hurdle is going to be or that challenge during your project or you're building your business or whatever, but you're ready for it because you know it's going to come. You're aware, right? Your awareness helps you to not just get blindsided by this thing that's going to hit you that you don't know where it's coming from or what exactly it's going to be, but you know something's coming, right? So you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. You're going to fall on your face. You're going to do something. You're going to make a wrong decision. It's just that's how you learn. That's how you build a business. That's how you do things, and you adjust from there. If you're so afraid of making a mistake, that you're not going to move forward on something, you're never going to move forward, because you're never going to know enough. You're never going to feel confident enough. You're never going to feel like you have all the pieces in place to be able to do something if you're wanting to make sure that you have, you know, all of your ducks in a row, and that there's no possible way that you're going to make a mistake, because it's not going to happen. It just doesn't work that way. It's part of, we all make mistakes. We get better as we go. That's actually one of the best ways to learn, is by making mistakes. You want to set yourself up to make, you know, the smallest mistakes that you can and the least amount of mistakes that you can, but to be mistake free it's just not going to happen, and you can't have that expectation, or it's going to hold you back. You have to accept that you're going to probably fail, you're probably going to make some mistakes, but that's okay. Be okay with it. Okay. Fear of rejection. So talking to people and asking them if they'll sell their property, and proposing deals and things like that, which if you think about it, really isn't that big of a deal. You're asking someone that owns something if they're willing to sell something. I mean, that's a legitimate question. There really shouldn't be too much fear behind that, but it's a really big, I mean, you're approaching maybe somebody that is just out of the loop. Some people are not good at approaching random people, whether that's on the phone or, you know, walking up to them or whatever, and starting a conversation around, would you be willing to sell a piece of property? So I get that. I've been there. It may not seem like that, but I've definitely gone through that, where it can be intimidating, and you don't know what to say, and you don't know how they're going to react. And, you know, you just don't, again, it comes to the unknown. How are they going to react? Is really a big part of it. Fear, they're going to tell me no, they're going to yell at me, and they're going to tell me off and cuss me out or whatever, which does happen, by the way. You know, but you know what? There's nothing you can do about what somebody else says or does, or how they react. You can control yourself. You can control how you respond. And I think it's Jack Canfield. I don't think it's him that came up with it, but he's the guy that I heard mention it. I might have mentioned this on a previous podcast as well, but the formula, the E plus R equals O. And so the E is the event, and R is the response, and the O is the outcome. So, but the response isn't their response. It's how you respond. And he uses the example of, if you walk up to someone and you ask them to go to dinner, right? And they say no. Well, okay. You just got rejected, right? You just got rejected. They said no to going out to dinner with you or whatever. You're asking someone out, whatever, right? Oh, shoot, they said no, that they're not going to sell their property. Okay, well, your situation hasn't changed, right? You weren't going out to dinner with them before. You're not now, right? You weren't buying the property before. You're not now. So it really, nothing's changed. But in our mind, we say, oh my gosh, I was rejected. They said no. So we have to reconfigure our brains around that, and recognize that it's not their response that matters. It's that we're actually proactively putting things out there. So don't worry so much about being rejected. It's not even usually personal. Even if someone gets really upset, it's not typically about you. It's about something that's going on in their life, that they're working through, and for whatever reason they're upset, and you just have to recognize that, right? Maybe they're going through a hard time. Maybe just, who knows, right? You don't know what someone's going through, and so maybe there's a reason they're upset. It doesn't excuse them cussing you out or yelling at you or whatever. But you just have to, hey, that's not me, that's them. They got to deal with whatever that is, and you don't let it affect you. One of my other mentors talks about success upon delivery, right? So most people tie success to the outcome, right? I proposed something, they said yes, therefore it's successful. And he says, well, you can't control other people's response, right? You can get better at shaping your proposals, at negotiation, at formulating a proposal that meets someone's needs so that it fits it so well that of course they're going to say yes, right? You can get better at all of that stuff, but in the end, what they say is not. If you tie your result if you tie your success to the result, to the outcome, then that's where you start feeling defeated, right? But if you're tying success to the fact that you're putting these proposals out there, and these are the things that'll work for you, you feel like it's a good fit for them, you're being proactive about making things happen, That's what you need to tie your success to. I'm making offers. I'm talking to sellers. I'm putting proposals out there. I'm actively searching for deals. All of those things that you can control. Tie your success to that and not necessarily the outcome of what happens. Now, you have to measure that. You still want to have results, right? If you're not tying anything to, like, you can be making tons and tons of proposals and talking to people and you're not closing any deals. That's not good either, right? But the point is, from a mindset perspective, if you're defeated every time someone says no, you're tying your success to the wrong thing. You're tying it to the outcome instead of you delivering the proposal. So I spent a little bit longer on that one than I planned on, but I think that one's very, very important. And then fear of being uncomfortable. We like to live in this bubble, right? We like warm baths, and we like hot tubs, and we like to be comfortable and cozy, and we like to be in our space around people that we know and are comfortable with, right? And free to be ourselves and all that. So and anything that's outside of what we've normally experienced, and we don't really know what to expect, is going to be outside of our comfort zone. That's just how it is. But we can't stay inside our comfort zone, because you don't grow, you don't become better, you don't do new things. You just keep doing the same. So yeah, if you want to live a life of being comfortable in everything that you do, don't do anything new. Don't do anything that has any risk. Don't do anything that is putting yourself out there. Don't do a podcast where you're going to get potentially negative feedback. I mean, all of those things, you're going to be outside. You have to, for great things to come and for you to be able to do bigger things, you have to get outside of your comfort zone. And again, anything new that you do, it's going to automatically be outside of your comfort zone because you've not done it before. So, and some people have a smaller comfort zone to start with. Some people are more comfortable with expanding those walls, or they have a little bit different starting point with that. But we all have a comfort zone. And you look at all these people that are doing these big things and putting themselves out there and all that. And, I can never do that. I guarantee you the majority of them felt the same way before they did it, and they're doing it because we all start there. We all start there, and we have to grow into that person. Okay, so those are fear. So let's not let fear get in the way. Those are all, we can overcome those, shift our mindset a little bit on failure and on rejection and on our comfort zone. Okay, we got to do that. Next one is resources. So this is a big one that stops people from getting involved in investing, right? So they just don't have the money, they don't have the credit, they don't have the connections, they don't have a way to save, whatever. I mean, resources and the ability to actually have what's tangibly necessary to buy a rental property, to buy an investment. And these are real things. They're real things. They're real things that are barriers. You have to have the money down, and you have to have credit, and you have to have, a lot of times, especially for bigger deals, you have to have credibility, and you have to have experience. And I jumped ahead a little bit there, but you have to have all those things. So how do you do that? So fortunately, these are really easy actually to overcome. And the way to do that, obviously you can work on some of your own stuff, and if you have credit issues or you just don't have a lot of credit, you start working on that. You go to some banks, you might start small, start with a secured credit card or whatever you can, and you just start building that credit. You start building that relationship and trust with the banks, and it's going to grow into bigger lines of credit and things like that. So that takes time, right? But you can do it. You just got to start somewhere, and it may not seem like much at first, but you extrapolate that out over a few years, and you can have a lot of capital available, and you'll have better credit, and that'll open up all sorts of financing doors for you. So that's one thing. The other thing is that it all starts, of all those resources, it starts with connections, because with the right connections, it's going to lead to other connections, and it's going to lead to people that have those things that you don't have. And then you can put pieces together and put deals together that use your resources and what you do have, and their resources and what they have, and maybe you're bringing something that they don't have to the table, right? And you put those things together, and now you can create a deal, right? You don't have a down payment maybe, but you have decent credit, right? Or maybe you're young and you have newer credit, but you've got a good credit score and it's been unblemished because you haven't invested in real estate yet and you haven't done other, taken some of those. So, your credit when you invest and you're using credit, your credit's kind of crazy. So it can be up and then down, and depending on where you're at in your acquisition phases, right? So even savvy investors that have been doing this a long time, sometimes they're in a position where their credit's not that greatest, right? They've got their credit lines being used. They've got, a lot of debt that's been put out there, and so maybe their credit's not in great shape. Well, if you can come along and provide a credit score that's going to be better, and then they've got some track record, and they've maybe got a little bit of capital, or they know other people that have capital, well, you come together and you buy something together. And I know a lot of people, I just want to do this on my own. I just want to buy a rental property on my own, and I don't want to do partners and all that stuff. Okay, I get it, but you know what? We can do bigger deals when we're working together. If you're sitting there saving for 5 years or whatever to try to get a down payment, well, prices continue to go up, and we won't get into the nuances of the market right now. Check out my market updates for that. But assuming that prices continue to go up as historically they have, then you're winning. You're fighting a losing battle because you're 5 years out, or however long it takes you to save. Prices are probably higher. You got to keep saving to get down payments. Who knows what interest rates and rents are going to do? Like, there's just, get in the game now. Figure out a way to get in the game now. Even if you only get half of a deal or a third of a deal or whatever, you're at least in the game. And then now that's going to propel you forward because you're going to have more opportunities. And part of something, I always say that part of something is better than all of nothing, right? So just get yourself in the game, whether that's joint venturing or bringing something to the table to partner with someone, right? So again, it all starts with connections. That really can solve a lot of those problems because that will lead to people that have those other things. If you don't have any of those resources, start with connections, and you can find people say, hey, I can bring this to the table. I know this market really well. I know this product really well. I'm a contractor. I can do a lot of the work. I know how to look at a house and know how much it's going to cost to fix it up. Whatever that strength you bring. Maybe you have time. I know we talk a lot on this about people that don't have a lot of time, right? You're trying to make a transition, or you're a busy professional or whatever, but maybe you can still carve out, right? You got to carve out some time for your investing. So maybe you can deal hunt, right? If you can deal hunt and bring a deal to someone, I mean, that's huge, especially in a tight market. Someone might have capital and credit and be ready to jump on a deal. And if you can bring them a deal, say, hey, if you bring me a deal, let's partner on it. I'll bring this piece of it, because they don't have the time to go out and find the deal or whatever, right? So if you can source a deal for someone, you may have no other resources other than that, and you can bring in, you can bring yourself into a deal that way. So the key thing here too is to make sure you're leading with value, right? So that bringing someone a deal, that's huge value, right? If you start making these connections with people and it becomes obvious that you're just in it to try to create relationships to help yourself, which we're all trying to create relationships to further our business, right? But if it's only about you and what you need and what you want, and it becomes obvious and people can sense that, and people feel used, right? So make it about how can you help them get what they want, right? And Zig Ziglar, he said, you can have anything you want in life as long as you help other people get what they want. I'm butchering that quote, but it's an excellent quote. Basically, if you help a lot of other people get what they want, you can have what you want, right? So make it about them first and what they need and what they're looking for and what they want, and bring yourself into that and figure out how you guys can align your interests and make something happen and put something together. So that's a huge one. Those are really easy ones to well, I shouldn't say easy. It does take a lot of effort. You have to make genuine connections. So it does take getting out there. You can do it through forums and stuff like BiggerPockets and some of the big forums out there. You can definitely make connections that way, but really get out there. Try to go to networking groups. We have a networking investor group that we put on to try to meet other people and provide value and talk about the market. And that's where you're going to really meet people face to face. You shake hands. you can talk in person and discuss, and it's just easier to build trust and rapport and build a real relationship. Though you can start to make connections, lots of people do that online, right? So start with the connections, the rest will come together, right? Okay, the next one is knowledge and experience, okay? So this one, again, is very similar to kind of the resources one, where if you don't have that, go find it, right? You have to have some of it. You can't really come in with, now if you have some of the other things, right? If you have some capital and you have credit or whatever, and you don't have a ton of experience or knowledge, now you can go to someone that does have experience but maybe needs some more capital, and that can be a good fit too, right? And then you learn along the way. Now, you don't want to know nothing doing that, right? You want to know something. You want to know, be knowledgeable to some degree, so you're not just giving your money to somebody and you don't even know how to vet the deal or analyze the deal yourself, and you're just hoping that they know what they're doing, right? That's probably not a good way to come alongside someone and invest with them. You have to have a little bit of knowledge, but again, like with the failure aspect, like you're never going to be 100% prepared on the knowledge and experience side either, right? All of us start without any of it. That's just, nobody has the knowledge and experience until they start to get the knowledge and experience. So you can't let that piece hold you back. Get a little bit of knowledge, continue to learn. I'm always learning. No matter how much you do, you're always going to be learning, because things just continue to change. But you always have to be learning and gaining experience, but you don't want to stop yourself to the point where, like, I need to know all of these things before I can get in the game. No, you don't need that. You need a little bit, so you know what you're talking about, you know how to talk the lingo and be involved and find the right people and all that stuff, and look at a deal and analyze it to some degree and know whether it's a good risk or not. And then you can come along people with that knowledge and experience, and do a deal with them, right? And just being around people, and even if you didn't do it that way, say, even if you just wanted it, like, just be around people and glean from them and learn from them and listen to what they're saying and how they're looking at their deals and all of that stuff. And then you'll get to a point where you just need to take that leap, right? And get the knowledge and experience for yourself, get the experience for yourself by jumping in and doing a deal. So, don't let it stop you at all. Again, we all start without any knowledge or experience. So we've all been there. And just remember that when you're talking to people, the humble people that are doing really, really well, but they remember where they started, and that we all, that they started with, one house or whatever it is, which is where most of us start. They want to help. Most of them want to help, right? So there's some people out there that they have scarcity mindset and they're just kind of jerks about it, and they don't want to share any knowledge. And that's, that's okay. Let them show that, and then don't work with them. You don't want to work with them anyway, like, right? You want to work with people that have an abundance mindset and that believe that there's enough out there to go around, and that want to teach and share, and that they believe that if they do that, it'll come back to them tenfold, right? Okay, this is one of the hardest ones. Time. Time is probably the biggest excuse of all of them. I don't know but I feel like that's the one that is put out there more than any of the other ones. I just don't have the time to fit this in. And that's, again, what we talk about a lot on here is making sure that that's not a hurdle, right? So how do you overcome the time objection and that holding you back from investing? And it's tough. We all have families. We all, a lot of you listening probably, we have careers that keep us busy. Lots of things, right? We have other things that we're doing. We don't want necessarily investing to take our entire life. And you may have a goal of transitioning out of that, and then you would have a little bit more time, and you may love your professional career and don't want to change that. So it really starts with, figuring out a strategy that fits within your schedule. So are you planning on staying at your career and continuing to try to invest alongside of that? And now you have to be realistic, and you have to look at your investment strategy and say, okay, can I sustain this? Is this sustainable for me to do it this way alongside my family and my professional career? because I'll tell you what, if you try to start flipping a bunch of houses alongside of that, it's going to be really tough. It's going to be really tough to fit all that in and properly manage your projects and make sure everything's functioning the way that it should be, and people are on the job site when they are supposed to be, and that the job is coming together in a timely fashion and all that stuff, right? Maybe you can manage one, but you're not going to scale that, right? Whereas if that's your position, it might make a whole lot more sense to say, hey, I've got a chunk of money, I want to invest it, and so you partner with someone that has more time. Maybe they're your first full-time investor, so you joint venture with them. You put your capital to work, you split it, right? Because they're getting the deal because you have the capital, or maybe you come alongside, someone that's syndicating a deal and putting, a value add apartment building project together, right? And so they need a handful of investors to come in with the equity, and there's all sorts of that stuff that goes on in the real estate world. That's how bigger deals are done. Again, you want to make sure that you're still vetting the deal and you're vetting the person running the deal and all of that stuff, but it's a lot less hands-on, right? So it's not completely passive in the sense of you have to still vet the deal and look at the deal and make sure you know who you're investing in and all that stuff, but you're not doing the project, right? Once you've done that, you say, okay, this looks good, I feel good about this investment, I feel good about the team that's implementing this. You put your money into their deal, and then you just watch the deal come together, right? And it's actually it can be a learning opportunity as well if you want to learn, but that's a very hands-off way to do it if you're planning on if you don't have a lot of time and you don't plan on having a lot of time. Now the others, I guess I don't want to maybe flip side, but if you are currently in that situation, but maybe you don't plan on staying at your job, you are looking for a way to transition out, you might look at the strategy a little bit different, because you might say, well, I can't sustain this long term, but I'm willing to make that push, and it's going to be a lot of work for a short amount of time, for 6 months or a year or whatever that time frame looks like, because I'm going to have to go to my job and take care of my family and do all of this other stuff. But I'm willing to make that sacrifice in the short term, right? Because you know that if I do this, this, and this, and I can do this many projects, or I can buy this many, turnkey properties, or whatever that looks like for you to be able to make that transition, that's going to eventually alleviate that time crunch, right? So you're not going to be working yourself to death, which is not the point of this, right? The point is to have more time with your family and doing the things that you love, not to add more in so you have less time. So that's really what it comes down to, is really matching your strategy to what your goals are and what your available time is and what your future available time is, to make sure that it's going to line up before you just go out and start doing some investing that's not going to fit with what you really want your lifestyle to look like, and how much time you realistically have, and be realistic about it. Just be honest, and I would like to do this, but I don't have time to do that. I mean, just be honest and figure out a strategy and implement one that's going to work well for your personal situation. Again, for for people that are time strapped, joint venturing, investing in syndications, all that stuff is great. So that's pretty much what I got. So fear is one of the big ones. So the 4 things that hold a lot of investors back. Again, it's not necessarily all of them for all people, but these are 4 of the big ones: fear, resources, knowledge and experience, time. And I'm going to throw, this is not necessarily like a category, but this is definitely another one. And I think I'm going to see this one be a bigger one moving forward with some questions in the market. Is now is not the right time. And some of that comes down to what the market's doing and people trying to time the market, and fears and trepidations there. And is the market gonna pull back? I'm not going to get into my whole philosophy on that at this point, other than just saying, you can't time the market. There's lots of things that you need to look at. Markets are local. So there's just a lot of things that you need to consider. I feel like waiting is a losing game. no matter what you do, and you just never are going to be able to time out a market completely. And there's so many benefits of buying real estate anyway, and you still have, if you buy right, you still have cash flow, you're still getting principal pay down from your loan if you're assuming you're financing and leveraging it. You get tax benefits. There's all sorts of things that you're getting still, even if prices were to pull back a little bit in the short term, because in the future it will be worth more. It's just, we live in an inflationary environment. If there is a pullback, it only really matters what it's worth if you're doing something with that equity, or if you're just trying to sell it. So even if it pulled back a little bit right after you bought, I can all but guarantee you that 5, 6, 7 years down the road, thinking long term, it's going to be worth more, even if it pulled back for a little bit. And the other piece of that is, it's not the right time personally, right? We all have to, and I will say that there are sometimes sure that it's really not the right time legitimately. But for the most part, that's an excuse. It's never going to be the right time. It's never going to be the right time in the market. It's never going to be the right time personally, unless you make it the right time and just are willing to take that jump. And if that's been your challenge, if you've been telling yourself that for a long time, I feel like you just have to jump in. You got to figure out a way to get in and stop making that an excuse, because it's going to continue to be an excuse. If it's been in the past and that's been holding you back, you're going to continue to ask those questions and make that excuse of it's not the right time. So don't do that. It's always the right time if you buy right and you buy with the right terms and you're thinking and covering your downside, you're thinking long term, and you're using good strategies. So just be smart about it. Align with smart people, align with people that have more knowledge and experience than you, and can help you through that and help you through those challenges in your mindset. So there we go. Closing statements here. Just a reminder that so I keep talking about the platform community that I'm building. It's coming, I promise. So something I'm thinking about every day, and starting to put pieces together on. So it will come together, and it is going to be awesome. It's going to provide a lot of resources and just a place for everybody to connect, and just an easier place to communicate together. And so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully here in the next few weeks. No promises, but that's the goal, really. So also want to throw out there, if you are an investor and you've gone through some of these things and you've got some lessons maybe that you've learned and some things that you've done that you feel like other people could benefit from, because again, part of this is trying to show people that we all have these challenges and these things that we're going through and time crunches, and we all are working through this. And so having people on that have done that and have overcome obstacles and hit challenges and had failures and all of those things and still seen success, that's what we want people to hear and get inspired and to go out and do that for themselves. So if you feel like you might be able to share and that it would be beneficial to listeners to share your story, I would love to chat with you and see if it would make sense to have you on the podcast and get your story out there for people to hear. So if that's you, send me an email to info@theeverydayrealestateinvestor.net. Just put in the subject podcast interview, something like that, and shoot me a quick message. Tell me a quick version of your story and why you think you'd be great to have on the show, and we'll see if we can get you on. So until next week, go out and make some things happen. Don't let those excuses and fears and all of those things hold you back. All of these things are very common to have be excuses and hold people back from investing. Don't let that be you. Let's overcome these things and go out and make some deals happen and get our real estate investment goals, make those things come true. So make it a great rest of the day. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you guys next time.